Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L coming in to talk about the Full Dive RPG, the final episodes, pretty much. Now you can see the title, you can see that I was relatively happy about the episodes. Really what I'm looking at it's like, yeah, I do feel pretty bad that I actually want to see more, just because I think the last few episodes were really good. Well, relatively better compared with where we started. I think they were good. And you know what? When I look back at the last few episodes, it really starts with Riona saying why she was doing the things she was doing and it being such a stupid reason. Honestly, I wanted to laugh at it, but it was so stupid that I was kind of into it. I respected that. That was pretty funny. Although at that stage, it did bring up the conversation of like, what are we even like watching this for? What's the point of this anime if these are the stakes? And this is something that really came back up on the final episode. In the final episode, you had moments where Hiro was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna die, and my console is gonna get toasted," and it's like, I don't care about your console, Hiro. And that's really one of the issues here is that when you do this, the stakes are non-existent, which is why it was really good that the final episode made the note of, oh hey, the childhood friend died and that sucked. It was good because you needed some kind of stakes here. And honestly, the NPCs are still the better part of this anime. So I actually really appreciated that. That was a good move. But going back into it, this whole thing about stakes, with these kind of anime, when there's no stakes, you need to have really good characters, like characters that you really enjoy. But you're not gonna get that when you have Riona hogging up the screen half of the time. And Hiro's alright, but Hiro took 6 episodes to become a normal protagonist. It's not fun in any which way. But once you got into it, like with these last few episodes, they were really worthwhile. And when you go into the final episodes, it's like Tesla being the bad guy is like, okay, that was cool. Govern being the bad guy, okay, that was also cool. The whole thing with the goblins, like once you saw it coming together, it's like, okay, that's legitimately really cool. When you have Tesla explaining the goblins are usually really peaceful, the secrets of Ted coming out, Tesla and Govern having their little like intimate moment, even the stuff with Hiro getting beat up. And this, honestly, Hiro losing is probably what made this a lot better towards the end there, because it's like, oh yeah, that was, I was wondering what Govern was going to do, and I actually liked that it was smart enough to have Govern involved there. When you look at the last 3, maybe 4 episodes, it is so significantly better when it's in the plot part. Although I really could do without the whole gag of this being a shitty RPG, I don't care anymore. It's a terrible gag. It sucks. It ruined the beginning of this series. You could do away with it. The only thing I really appreciated was when Hiro said that he wouldn't want to marry Riona or something like that. I thought that was pretty funny. The things with Kamui, I think the things with Kamui were fine in terms of what they were doing for the story, but overall, what I really cared about was really ultimately Hiro saying, "Yeah, I want to finish that event properly," and it's partly because Tesla was so good at the ending there. Like he really elevated it. So did Govern. I actually would love to see Hiro come back in there and redo events, because as a gamer, I would 100% want to save Scum and go back in there and do things a little bit better if I could have that possibility. It's unfortunate though that you had to be in a situation that you got the good stuff here in the final little bits. But mind you, where there is good, there is also incredible bad. And Full Dive is still incredibly bad. My thing here is that when you're actually looking at the in-game plot, when you're actually doing something normal, Full Dive is pretty alright. But everything surrounding it is terrible. Riona is still extremely terrible. And the circumstances that create the situation that Hiro is in at the end of this anime is also extremely terrible. Here it is. Flat out. In what world is it reasonable to have an online game where you can turn back events by 1 hour? That doesn't make sense in an online game. I want to know what happens if Genji the Gout Man is in there when that time reversal happens. Does he experience it? Also, I want to know how many of the Goblin Attack Ted events has Genji been through? Here's the fundamental thing. That mechanism that's introduced at the end there doesn't make sense. It only makes sense as a mechanism that is there to give Hiro a second chance. It doesn't make sense with the premise that we're told about this game. It's just, in what world does an online game with multiple players involved allow someone to turn an event's clock back an hour? And what happens at scale? What if two people who are doing this event both try to turn back the time at different moments in time? Someone's progress is going to be overwritten. This mechanism doesn't make sense in the perspective that this game was going to be popular when it was being made. This mechanism is quite stupid. But there's been a lot of things about this game that have been quite stupid. And in this situation, you could say like, oh, they accept that. They're going to say like, oh yeah, if you're playing the game when someone does a time reversal, oh, they'll experience it, blah blah blah. But then it's like, okay, you're sure, if we're going to accept that that's going to be what's going to be happening, and that people's events can be overwritten, and that the developers didn't think about what could happen when you have multiple players playing a game, sure, if you want to go that far, you can say that. But ultimately, the plot device itself is stupid. This would not happen in any game with an online component where the events are experienced by all people at the same time. It's stupid. And for me, it was so stupid that I had to go and I had to understand, how could someone write such stupidity and not get called out for it? Because a lot of times with light novels, they're put up on content distribution sites and they will get checked by the most avid readers. And it was strange to me that this one got through with so many glaring breaks of the premise. The situation with the NPCs being stupid, the situation with the premise of how this online game works, it doesn't work like an online game. The online game stuff bends to the needs of the plot, and that just makes for a terrible time. So I went in and I started doing my research, and I learned that this was written by the guy that wrote Overly Cautious Hero. And then that made me doubt everything that I learned up till now, because I'm thinking like, that guy was pretty alright when he was writing Cautious Hero. That was pretty okay. And I looked into it. This thing only has 4 volumes written, and it started being written in 2020. Not only that, the manga adaptation came out in 2021. Not only that, but since 2020, as far as I have been able to confirm, because I checked even the dates when this thing had debuted for its volumes. As far as I've been able to tell, this thing has not placed on the charts. And yeah, I just gave it another look just to make sure. On debut, it did not place. If it did place, it sold less than 4,500 copies on both of its debut weeks. After looking at that and seeing that we got an anime for a light novel that's not even placing and hasn't placed since the anime started, it became very clear to me, this is not a normal thing. This is a multimedia project where someone in the publishing company thought like, hey, you know what, you're a cool author, a Cautious Hero author, let's go do this project. And this guy just kind of pooped them out. This is in general a terrible production. This production sucks. This thing is probably not getting a second season. It's broken. No one's been checking this guy as he's been writing this trash. And I went a little bit further, and guys, do stay tuned for a video I'll do like about what the Japanese have to say about this. But I went further and I looked into the Amazon data for this particular novel, because I understand Amazon now. With the Amazon data, this thing is still not doing great. It's only got 30 ratings. It's at a 3.9. These are not good numbers. If you're debuting on Amazon, you want to be above a 4-star rating. Like, it's impossible to please everyone unless you're at like the last stages of a light novel, because at that point you only have diehard fans. But just looking at the customer reviews for the first 4 volumes, it has only 30 ratings. It's under a 4.0 for 3 of the 4 volumes. When you compare it to other things that were airing this time, like Combatants Must Be Dispatched, it's in the 80s for the ratings, which is actually a lot more normal for novels that have this kind of following. So all in all, when you're looking at this, and let me tell you, some of these reviews are hilarious, both on the anime side and on the light novel side. And Amazon, thankfully, also has quite a lot of reviews from the Japanese audience for Full Dive, and it's pretty funny. 48% of the reviews are 1-star reviews when it comes to the anime on the Japanese Amazon site. ultimately, when you're looking at this, this is by far, by all signs, a complete and utter failure. This thing is not getting a second season, most likely, unless they want to throw more money at it. But with the way that the metrics are going out right now, there's other series who have done significantly better and are still waiting for a second season. This isn't going to be a ReZero situation, because ReZero actually has some numbers behind it. So when I'm looking at all this, everything starts making sense. The reason that this thing was so shitty with the little details is because it's on an accelerated track and it's being bolstered by some company that thought that they could probably put this out and that this guy's clout would be able to carry it. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to carry it. So for the people that wondered why this was so terrible, it's ultimately because of this. It wasn't checked enough. This is someone going out on a whim, and they were trying to make this into something big. Didn't work out. Unfortunately, the Cautious Hero's clout didn't work, and now I severely question the skill of the Cautious Hero author. If you're waiting for a season 2, you might have to wait for a long while until we start seeing some numbers here. This is, by all stretches of the imagination, terrible. If this thing was making money, it'd be a different thing, but it's not. And in all honesty, for what we have seen here, I am absolutely happy that these are the numbers that we've got, because this thing was so bad for the early portion that if this was actually succeeding, I would have really questioned the vetting process that was going on in the light novel side. Although, given that this is a multimedia production that happened within a year of the release of the first volume, given that, I actually still do question the vetting process. What else do I want to say about ragging on this series? Well, this is the final episode review, and ultimately what I can say is that even though you have 3 episodes and you have a situation that makes me want to watch this season, the reality is this is a terrible approach to making an anime. First off, you have really unlikable characters, one of who stays unlikable till the 6th episode of the series, and then you have Riona throughout the whole thing. You're going in there with unlikable characters, and then you have this gag that you just can't get rid of this game being shitty that lands sometimes and sometimes doesn't. And it's all so mean-spirited. This is an example of what not to do. Do not have your main character becoming intelligent at the 6th episode. Not for an anime. Like that's the kind of thing that you hope to see at episode 3, where he's becoming sensible. And let me tell you, the reviews do reflect that reality. This is a big issue. For the light novel strategy to work, the idea is that the anime will bring in a casual audience to come and check out the light novel. The fact that the light novel didn't get more than 3,000 for some weeks to even have a chance at placing at number 10 on the charts indicates that the strategy failed. When you have 6 episodes to try and get this character to be normal, it's not going to work out, and that's ultimately what we're seeing here. The strategy fails because someone had a terrible idea about what people wanted to read. And again, I do love that this anime currently has 2.5 stars out of 5 on Amazon's Prime Video or whatever it is. This is such a great example of such a colossal failure, and why you shouldn't be weakening the starts of your story in exchange for having a strong finish. And this is an important thing in general when it comes to selling. You want to start strong. You can kind of waste away at the end, because at the end you'll have your diehard fans. But if you don't start strong and you make it a miserable time, no one's going to want to give it a chance. And again, for this anime, this is such a great case study of what not to do that I am ecstatic just to talk about it. I can't wait to share the reviews with you, because this is just going to be hilarity. As I've been able to see, Full Dive doesn't seem to have a season 2 just yet. If new information comes out, I will let you know. But if we do get like maybe a second half of the season, that in of itself will be a miracle. If we get a season 2, that also will be a miracle. I can tell you right now, by just the sheer numbers that we have here for these volumes, these are nothing to write home about, man. Like, yeah, it's pretty pitiful. It's pretty pathetic. You wouldn't expect this kind of thing for a series that just got an anime adaptation, and the reviews are so bad. Like, once your reviews are in the gutter like that on the sites where casual viewers go to watch anime, once it's like that, you're probably you're not getting off the ground. I'd be very surprised if Full Dive gets a season 2. If it does, it's because these people are probably trying to make back the money they lost. But yeah, guys, that's my video. It was a bit more about why Full Dive sucks, but Full Dive sucks, even though the last 3 episodes were great. Ultimately, what do I want? I would like to see what happens next, just with the whole situation with Tesla, just because I think that's a really smart situation. I do, again, the premising around it is pretty shaky. As like, just from an emotional point, I want more, but I would be severely disappointed if it actually got a season 2, just because of how this is working, and it just makes everything look like a joke. But yeah, guys, let me know what you thought down below, and keep an eye out for when I make the review video of like what the Japanese had to say about this, because some of those comments are amazing. Guys, let me know what you thought, and until next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.